Hey, welcome to this episode of Profitology with your friend, your CFO, Perry Jeffries. If you're joining us for the first time, Profitology is the study of how to secure and grow your money, your business, and your lifestyle. So thank you for joining us for this episode. Hey, in today's episode, we're going to have some fun, y'all. We're going to discuss the business and life lessons taught from the movie or learned from the movie The Last Dragon. So who remembers The Last Dragon? I believe the movie came out in 1985, one of my all-time favorite movies. Well, here recently, I had the opportunity to share this gem with my wife, who had never seen Last Dragon, and our twin daughters, who are little bitty things, 10 years old. So we watched Last Dragon this past weekend, and everybody absolutely loved the movie. So if you're not familiar with the movie is about Bruce Leroy Green. And Bruce Leroy Green is a young man living in New York City who's studying Kung Fu. And he is all in, from the way he dressed, the way he walks, the way he speaks. He's even one scene my wife cracked up about while he was eating his popcorn with some chopsticks. Well, the premise of the movie is that Bruce Leroy Green has been studying martial arts and kung fu for a long time, and he has his master, his sensei, and he's looking to try to go to the next level, the top level, the highest level of his craft. And he's in search of this quote unquote other master who can take him to that level. So his master says to him, like, hey, you need to go find this master, look in a place that you have not looked. So that's kind of the premise of the story. And then you have, the antagonist in the movie, Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem, who's the other guy in the city who's into martial arts and kung fu, and he runs Harlem, and he's a big bully. And the two end up clashing with each other. And obviously our hero Bruce Leroy Green comes out at the end as the hero and the victor. But it's a great movie, and I just want to kind of share some lessons from the movie. And you see a link right here where if you want to hear one of the songs, and we'll share this here at the end, The Glow. But some of the lessons I'm going to share with you from the movie, because a lot of times we look at, movies, or we listen to music, and are we truly paying attention to the lyrics? Are we truly paying attention to the message, right? So though it's a great entertaining movie, even if it's almost 30 years old now, it still has some very valuable life lessons that we can use in life and business. So let me share a few here with you. A couple of my lessons, my takeaways after watching the movie, because when it came out in 1985, I was all of 9 years old, and I'm almost 44 now. So this is a long time ago. And what's so crazy is that a movie from 1985 still is relevant today when you dig past the entertainment and get into the messaging. So a couple lessons here, y'all. One, before you can fly on your own, you must receive coaching. Bruce Leroy Green had a master that he studied under, and before he moved on, he waited for his master to tell him that I have taught you everything I can teach you. So every master has a master, every teacher has a teacher, and every coach has a coach. So before you hire someone or you get mentorship from someone, your first question should be, so who do you get mentorship from? Because for them to take you to the next level, they would have had to been mentored or coached or brought up by somebody else. So that would be the first question I would ask somebody. All right, second one, lesson learned here: be humble. Throughout the entire movie, Bruce Leroy Green was extremely humble, to the point that he even bowed down to the Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem, in order to just to protect his one of his students, and even took a knee. Right. And I'm not saying that you need to take a knee, but what's really relevant in the movie is that he was always humble. He was never about, hey, look at what I can do, I'm the man. Even when he was going to save, save the female, the woman, the lead woman in the movie. He was doing it masked up, right? So the deal is, he was very, very humble. He never wanted people to say, "Hey, look at me, I'm the man." He just went and did what he had to do. Seek guidance. A lot of the story is around him seeking the guidance of the master, which he found out didn't even exist. But seeking guidance when you're down, so he wasn't in a bad place. He was just trying to go to the next level. And he set his energy towards going to the next level and seeking guidance. Who can take me to the next level? Who can take me to the next level? Doing whatever he had to do to go to the next level. Next point here, takeaway. As you're striving for your goals, and whatever those goals may be, financial, business, personal, whatever the case may be, you may be perceived as odd and or weird. So in the movie, he's in New York City, you know what I'm saying? It's at the rise of hip hop. People got their boom boxes, their shoes with the fat boy laces, all of that. And he's walking around in a full Asian, authentic Asian garb, with the hat, the slip on, the slippers, just not dressed like cool like everybody else, because he was in his lane and he was comfortable in his lane. He walked around with his head up in full confidence because he was in his lane, though he was perceived as super odd by everybody, even his family. Next one, many will misunderstand you. A lot of people won't understand you while you're on your journey, and that's totally okay. They're not supposed to. It's your journey, it's not theirs. So again, many will not understand you. Next takeaway. You will be challenged by those who fear your greatness, even when you don't even realize you're great yet. So, though Bruce Leroy was a master at his craft, and he didn't realize he was a master in his craft. The beef that the Shogun of Harlem had with him, Shonuff had with him, he wanted everybody to know, "I'm the man." Who's the master? Shonuff. Who's the prettiest? Shonuff. Who's the baddest? Shonuff. Like, had a whole entourage rocking with him. All they was doing just, bigging him up and singing his praises. And Bruce Leroy just walked around by himself, right? And the Shogun kept picking a fight with him because he saw the greatness in Leroy, saw the greatness in Bruce Leroy that he didn't even see in himself. And the Shogun wanted to fight him to prove that he was the greatest. So even though Bruce Leroy wasn't out there saying, "Hey, I'm the man, I'm the master, I'm the greatest," that may be the same thing with you. You may find people who are picking fights with you, talking badly about you, running your reputation to the mud, through the mud, because they may see a greatness that you may not even see in yourself. Y'all, don't get me started today, y'all. All right, next one we have here. Practice your craft every day. Every day we saw Bruce Leroy practicing his craft. So he was meditating and praying every day. He was working on his martial arts every day. He was seeking guidance every day. So practice your craft every day. If you truly want to be successful, people, you can't just do it sometime, half the time. You have to practice your craft every day. Whatever it is that you want to get good at, whatever your one thing is, you need to practice it every day. Next takeaway here. Remove distractions. So we notice kind of with Bruce Leroy going through his whole process, had a beautiful woman who was interested in him. He was focused on reaching his goals. As soon as he felt like, oh, this may be a distraction, he moved himself out of that particular environment, right? So again, sometimes you have to remove distractions. What may be stopping you from reaching your ultimate goals may be your environment. And if you've heard me on another one of our segments here talking about, hey, law of environment, your environment has a lot of impact on where you're going to go, how far you're going to go, right? So remove distractions. So for some of you, maybe TV. So some of you may be that annoying girlfriend or boyfriend. I'm not, don't want to hurt anybody's feelings today. I'm just speaking the truth. But remove distractions, things that are not helping you get closer to your goals. You need to remove them. Next takeaway here. Teach those who wish to learn. So we notice, even though Bruce Leroy had a master, he actually had his own dojo with a bunch of his students who at the end had his back when it was about to go down. But he was not only receiving lesson from his master, he was somebody else's master, and he was teaching. Understand something here, and I want y'all to make sure that this resonates here with you. Before, this is how you know if this is how you, this is the litmus test to know when you actually are starting to master something. Can you teach it? It's one thing like, oh, I know it. It's another thing, can I teach it? So if you can't teach it, you really don't know it. If you read a book and you're like, oh, this is a great book, I know it. Well, do you really know it? Here's the test. Go teach it to somebody who hasn't read that book. And if you can't teach it, then you don't know it, which means you haven't mastered it, which means you need to go back and review it again. Let that sink in. The litmus test to whether or not you have mastered something and you should move on to something else is, can you teach it? If you cannot teach it, you don't know it well enough. Stay where you are until you can teach it. That's a huge takeaway. All right, next takeaway we have here for you. When your coach tells you to move on and they say, I can't help you any further, realize, you know what I'm saying, that it's time to move on. And it's not that that coach doesn't want to work with you anymore. It's they've taken you to the point where they've gotten you. And for coaches, if you have taken somebody to the point where they know everything that you know, please let those people go. Right? Don't continue to take money from people that you can't help move to the next level, because in order for you to coach, you should be at a level that's above them. So keep that in mind, people. So if your coach comes to you and says, hey, it's time for you to move on, I've taught you everything I know, believe that. All right, pray and meditate daily. Absolutely. Because you need to reflect. You know, we had a session this past weekend where I didn't do any work. I was just thinking and reflecting and just had a major breakthrough. And my wife helped me put some things on the whiteboard that's going to take our business to the next level. But that I wouldn't have gotten there if I didn't shut everything down and spend time to meditate and reflect. Seek help, not recognition. An ongoing thing in the movie, Bruce Leroy was never seeking recognition. He was always just seeking to help. That's how he got in the situation that he was in and ended up landing, the girlfriend at the end and the whole nine, because he wasn't seeking, to be recognized. Even in his martial arts, he wasn't seeking to be recognized. He was seeking to help and to be a leader. Oh, next takeaway here. You're a master to someone. So even if you don't realize it, somebody looks up to you. Somebody is watching all your moves right now. So whether it's your child, whether it's your spouse, whether it's someone in your community, somebody in your church, somebody in your business, realize to someone you are a master. So don't take that lightly, y'all. That is not something you want to take lightly, because somebody is following your lead right now. Regardless of where you are, somebody is following your lead. Next takeaway, have a spirit of abundance versus scarcity. All right, another takeaway right here. You can use your gift to either be relevant or to be recognized. What we found out with the Shogun of Harlem, his big thing was recognized. Everywhere he walked, who's the prettiest? Show enough. Who's the baddest? Show enough. That was his deal, recognition. Everything he did was just, I want to be recognized. I want to be recognized. What was so crazy, a takeaway that some people may have missed in the movie, at some point in time, the villain was going to pay the Shogun of Harlem to beat up Bruce Leroy Green. And he turned the money down and said, I don't even want your money, because he didn't want the money. He wanted the recognition. That was pride. He was so prideful, and that ended up being his downfall. So let that sink in. Oh, kind of watching the lifestyle of Bruce Leroy, and especially as we're kind of dealing with the whole COVID-19 crisis right now. He didn't have cars. He didn't have fancy clothes. He didn't have any electronics, right? He lived way below his means. And let that, we could spend all day talking about that. But what do you really need to survive and be comfortable? Like, really, what do you really need? Do you need the expensive clothes, the expensive cars? How humbly could you live and keep that money in your pocket and still be relevant? So he didn't have none of the flashy things, but he was still extremely relevant in the movie as our hero. And last but not least, the law of attraction. He ended up getting the woman that everybody in the movie wanted. And she was making movies on him. And he was, hey, ducking and dodging because it was a distraction to what he was trying to get accomplished. And he did not move forward in that relationship until he had became, realized that he was the master, right? But the deal is, the point I'm trying to make is the law of attraction. He wasn't seeking to be, hey, come look at me, I want to be with you. Their relationship was based on him being a helpful servant. And by him being a helpful servant, he ended up getting, the woman, right? So that's all I have, y'all. I just want to share this with you, just these takeaways. After we watched the movie this weekend, my family and I, the girls were working on their kung fu in the living room, cracking me up. I'm walking around singing. My wife is laughing at me, and we're just having a good time, y'all. But again, so many valuable life and business lessons from The Last Dragon. So if you haven't seen Last Dragon, because up until this weekend, I hadn't seen it in probably about 20 some odd years. If you haven't seen that movie in some time, go watch it. Go watch it and think about, and this time when you watch it, think about just some of the valuable lessons and the takeaways that you have from it. So before we close out, y'all, on this segment of Profitology with Perry Jeffries, we're going to leave you here with a little bit of music. Hopefully